Okay, hi folks, this is sjsrana, sjsrana, reporting from my hometown, Chandigarh, which is 150 miles north of New Delhi, DMZ, and it's May 19, 2021 at about 0847 hours UTC. We're going to discuss a wide range of topics from Israel, Gaza, flashpoint to India biosecurity hazard over COVID-19 disaster, how India is dealing with it, and we're also going to discuss how India registered highest fatalities for the day for May 19th, which is over 4,500, which is quite gruesome and worrisome scenario because of the B.1.617.2 variant which India has produced. You know, it is a virus, it's a variant which is of 50% more contagious, and it's highly lethal variant which is circulating in India. And India population basically not following social distancing because of the sexual predators population intermingling with females, you know, daily. And it's a massive unreported crime, or you can say unreported social distancing norm floated by India population, which is cause of worry and basically is going to produce future contagion, which is possible under, which was predicted by me for hashtag MAY 2021 NPW New Pathogens War. So all these topics and much more we're going to discuss, and how the world is going to shape up for future, because I see very tragic events occurring third week of May 2021, and flashpoint of Israel, Gaza and Arab world, Middle East regional escalation is quite possible. So all these scenarios we're going to discuss and much more. So stay tuned, and you can always check on my Instagram, which is instagram.com/sjsrana, fb.com sjsrana555, fb.com/trust1must. So let's quickly jump to most important topics right now and global events which we're going to update, and you're going to see later on how I'm going to put up future predictions for India. Hi everybody, how are you doing? This is sjsrana, your favorite host, reporting for May 19, 2021, time about 8:45 hours UTC. Today I'm going to give some of very crucial information and how the world is shaping with new developments. We see a lot of things which have traversed so far after COVID-19 disaster, which has struck India, and obviously globally a lot of impact has been felt. But recently you see how things are shaping up on geopolitical ball games is quite concerning. So we're going to cover up the topics which are quite important, like Israel Palestine, flashpoint. Also we're going to cover how Biosecurity Hazards and Biosecurity Safety Act is required so that this COVID-19 disaster or new pathogens war, which may be very soon appearing on horizon, may prove to be something very, very lethal for the whole world community. Also, we're going to discuss how the global GDP is suffering or is recovering. And on these topics, we are going to just focus on brief, because I have just this introduction, whereas the whole other part will be followed in the sequence. So let's see what's going on with Israel and Gaza, you know, this flashpoint. Well, this has stemmed from 2013 onwards, you know, where 2015 things escalated, 2013 things escalated with Gaza and Israel. And the whole topic is surrounding about the Palestine freedom movement. And this doesn't seem to be a big problem because Israel took birth in 1947, as we all know. And at the same time, Palestine, or so-called, that area or zone, was supposedly thriving in its own existence. However, with the advent of Israel taking birth in 1947, thereafter having one or two wars with the Arab nations, whereas it has annexed the area which was known as Palestine, or you can say as Palestine. But then after the annexation, the things have gone into hands of Israel, where it has taken up a lot of areas which are having, you can say, a skewed distribution between the Jews and the Muslim population. So, well, that is another topic. But recently, the spat of the war has basically gone out of hands, with Hamas, known as the militant group or right wing of Palestine, has launched multiple rockets. I mean, in fact, it's massive rockets, more than 3,700 rockets been launched on Israel. And this doesn't seem to be something which is taken well by any nation, a sovereign nation, which is going to take it as a threat to its sovereignty. Not only that, it's a terrorist activity. So I think the escalation point is quite well taken by Israel. And the world community, sooner or later, on this point alone, will be standing with Israel. That is what I have predicted all along. Since 2 weeks back, when the flashpoint started, I have always sided with Israel, because the rockets launch is definitely a grave concern, because it's the safety of every citizens which is threatened. If it's a military war, we understand the militaries, exchange fire, just like recently China and India had a spat on Himalayan, the region of Kashmir, which is seeking independence from India. And obviously, China is having a lot of say in the area and zone, because there is a South Tibet escalation with India going on, which China claims to be its own. And since 1947, India partition took place and India took birth, it had this area which was in a gray area. So we see those escalation took place where 20 soldiers were brutally injured, and many soldiers were death, fatalities took place. So that was a flashpoint between militaries. But now this Gaza and Israel situation is quite different. It is basically the terrorism activity which is basically swung into action, and I think this escalation is going to go into very big flashpoint, because the Arab world may get united sooner or later, as it has soft corner towards Palestine. However, the Hamas rocket launches, nobody in the Arab world is questioning, especially Turkey, or if you see Syria, or if you see any of those neighboring Lebanon, has not questioned that. And Israel takes that as a big part, as a confrontation. So I guess this situation is going to go worse. That's my understanding. So if there is a ceasefire which can be called, I think it will be short-lived, because unless the terrorism is resolved, peace cannot be attained. So as far as the Gaza humanitarian crisis is ongoing, we already know, recently Israeli soldiers were providing humanitarian aid towards the Gaza citizens, whosoever, whether it may be Israel, Jews or Muslims, whatever the community may be, but they were again facing rocket launches and violence attacks, So this situation is deteriorating, and obviously we see this as a turning to a flashpoint. It could also become into a regional conflict zone. So far, Russia, US, China have stood away, and I think it's in best interest to leave that alone for now, because this issue of terrorism has to be resolved before Palestine or Gaza issue is resolved finally. Anyway, jumping on to the next topic is what's going on with India and the COVID-19 disaster. We all know India is basically registering massive number of COVID-19 cases. Even in second wave, for May 19th reporting, it has reported more than 267K COVID-19 cases, and with historical high 4,520 plus fatalities. Yes, it's a historical high for India. And this has never been seen, even though there has been recent dip in the surge of new cases. But this is quite contrary, that while the cases are dipping, the fatalities are increasing, which is a bizarre phenomena. And this does seems to be either with the new variant which India has now, or mutations which India is producing recent, which is B.1.617.2. This variant has come into a big play, and already B.1.617 was a big cause of concern, but the new variant which has taken shape, which is B.1.617.2, has caused quite big surprise second wave surge in fatalities. So I guess recently there was a spat, and Singapore government slammed India government, Delhi government basically, which was accusing Singapore that it's the spikes in Singapore cases was localized, and India government, Delhi government was blaming basically Singapore government that it's their own play. However, Singapore government and health ministry immediately slammed India, New Delhi government, saying that it's basically B.1.617.2, which is an India virus, India mutant variant, and this is a hazard. And I think as we see the cases are uncontrolled still in India and fatalities are rising, I think it's quite likely that India will have worldwide travel ban. And I think there is very much a mandate required for a biosecurity hazard to be declared, specifically like India is becoming a viruses hub. So a Biosecurity Act must be enacted now, whereas the nations which can control or can't vaccinate people in time should be put under a ban. This is a UNSC, WHO, and UNO combined effort. I guess all those G20 nations, specifically G7 nations, should take a cautionary move now, as WHO has also warned that this variant of India, which is B.1.617, is quite elusive, quite threatening to the world biosecurity. So I guess this is something where India government has to hold a press conference, but for quite surprising reason, India government has been quite silent. It has gone underground. It doesn't want to hold any international press conference why India has become a COVID-19 disaster for the world community. You know, this I guess the explanation which I can give you from my observation in India, where I'm residing, and I know people around, that first and the foremost is people are not following social distancing. The biggest problem in not following social distancing is not that they are meeting a lot of gatherings or things taking place. It's the other part, which is the massive amount of India's sexual predators, which are basically preying on females, and those exchanges between females and India active alpha males or sexual predators, are quite active, and they don't follow any social distancing norm. Even recently, there was a big problem in a localized hospital, private hospital in Patna, which is north area of India, where a female who was a patient of COVID-19 was basically sexually assaulted in a battery, in a gang rape mode. And in the hospital, yes, it is quite surprising. So are the Indian predators. They don't care whether it's a patient or whether it's a dead body. These India predators, sexual predators, are the most worst of humankind ever existed in this world. They will attack anybody, anyone, any female. They don't care. It's a dead body. It's a girl of 2 years old, or it's a lady of 90 years old. So because that's why I keep saying, you have to understand India properly to understand what's going with the culture of rape culture here. It's quite obvious, and it's for surprising reason, India females, which are 666 million plus, never mass protest. They just keep watching the cable TV broadcast daily, but they don't mass protest. That's very surprising. And many people ask whether they're part of a problem or they're part of a solution. That's a question world community has to answer. So coming back to this sexual assault, where predators are quite active in India, and every 15 minutes, India sexual predators basically sexually assault a female, which is a conservative number. To my understanding, is every 5 minutes. So because, I call the problem with India is that, 8 out of every 10 India population is downright corrupt, mostly morally, ethically bankrupt, and pathological liars. That's what I have a generic statement for India population, which is 8 out of 10. Yes, 2 out of 10 you can leave, which is basically on the good side. and they are basically the founders, or they are the people who are trying to combat these sexual predators and those people who are morally degraded, ethically degraded. They will lie. The deceit and deception is so high that even India government is now world renowned that they obfuscate the truth. They don't let world know the truth. They will try to always obfuscate, and the obfuscation is nothing more than a lie, and it's a deceit and deception. So even see right now COVID-19 disaster, where is India government turning to the world community saying, hey, I think we should isolate ourselves because we have not contained, we have made it a disaster, and we don't want the whole world community to suffer. No, India government never released the statement. Okay, when it was Wuhan having the cases with the initial cases with COVID-19 in December 2019, India was first one to slam, oh, China is having some mysterious virus and we are not getting the information. But now you see India government is totally silent for last 8 months, where it has turned into a total disaster of virus hub. India has become a virus hub. And this is why I say, it's very important to come to the ethical grounds. Another problem with India is its massive surveillance state. India government and government stooges and India stooges basically are quite active to basically prey on females. But what they do is, in turn, they also prey on people who are basically, fighting for human rights, or basically fighting for women's problem. They also try to prey on them or control them, so that, once they control them, the human rights activists, then they know they can have their evil empire flourish. And the problem with that is massive surveillance state. Everybody is having a surveillance agenda, and those predator population, exceptional teamwork is basically only doing surveillance, and that surveillance is also being pushed by India government as an agenda. And that's the problem, which is a big, huge problem. See what happens on a moral and ethical grounds. Let's come to that part. See, whenever you do anything to a person, which is another person, you have to have a consent. See, a sexual battery or a rape is known as a consent problem. There is no consent, so it will be called as a sexual battery. So when anybody's surveillance or privacy is basically infringed upon, it's basically no consensual, you can say, attack on that person liberties. And if there is a massive surveillance, non-judicial surveillance, then basically they are violating basic human rights of a person. And India government is notoriously known for having massive surveillance unnecessarily over innocent, especially the human rights activists. That's where the moral blockage comes. And that's where everything goes into a spiritual realm where things go vary. See, if you talk of this disaster, why India is the top disaster of COVID-19? That question can only be answered that, now because India was a massive surveillance state over innocents, now viruses are surveillancing the India stooges. Yes, there's a massive surge of viruses, pathogens, which are now going to surveillance India government and India stooges. It's a clear statement which is from viruses and from Mother Nature. Even there was a recent cyclone, Tokate, and this was a quite big, unsurpassed in history of 20 years. We have never seen this cyclone in India. It was packing more than 110 miles per hour gust of wind, and it basically ravaged India coastal areas, especially the area of Gujarat, where more than 600 roads have been decimated, more than 1,400 homes completely decimated, and 200K population of India was displaced by the cyclone. And it's still ongoing, but it has weakened to a very severe storm. I think it's passing Gujarat today and it will be entering some areas of Rajasthan. And there's another storm developing in Bay of Bengal, which may hit again India, Bengal area, Assam area, again India. So that's the second storm. So Mother Nature is having a wrath on India population. And why? Because, as I say always, 8 out of every 10 India population is downright corrupt, morally, ethically bankrupt, and pathological liars. That's the basic malefic karma of India. So what all you're seeing with India right now, that massive COVID-19 disaster, it's their malefic karma. They are crude, and that's unfolding with India. And I guess in time to come, we'll see the new pathogens, which I predicted already, hashtag MAY 2021 NPW, new pathogens war, which is unfolding already with the new variants, mutations, and India is the hub, cradle, you can say, of producing that part because of the malafic Karmaa of India. And I think the black fungus, which is ongoing with India, is another big disaster. It's spiking, it's surging. That black fungus is a remnants of a recovered patient of COVID-19, where they develop sort of a fungus or mold, on the faces. It defaces the face, and it basically brings down the complete immunity of the person. And it's basically found highly on diabetic patient or excessive sugar level patients who are suffering with those ailments. So see, these are all malefic karma. You cannot ignore what's going on with the nature. I guess, guys, this is where I want to address to you all that, nature is something you can never supersede. Nature is omnipotent, it's watching, it's everywhere. And we see that karma part, which India has been playing this theory of karma. It backfires for almost eons. When you talk of India culture and India heritage, they say karma. So this is the karma I call of India, which is haunting them now, that 8 out of every 10 India population is downright corrupt, mostly morally and ethically bankrupt, and pathological liars. Yes, folks, this is the reality of India. And that's why hate crimes of India is too high. They are so envious of each other. The neighborhood is spying on the other neighborhood with push from government agencies and stooges, and that is not something which is taken good by Mother Nature or nature. So supernatural powers which are all around, you call the phenomena. What do you call of, what's going on with this COVID-19 disaster? There's no explanation. What is going on with the sun? I want to touch this topic, but briefly right now I'm running out of time. There's a problem with sun. Sun is releasing massive flares, and recently also we are going to witness today huge surge in flare and radio activity across the northern region. Also we're going to see surge in something as cosmic rays. That's another topic I want to discuss. So all these are answers from that nature, that they don't take this as a supreme power from what people and government try to assert, that they have absolute right to surveillance anytime, anyone, anybody. No, they don't have. They have to have some judicial, there has to be law and order, and that law and order is what makes everyone as a global good citizen, and a global good sovereign nation. Yes, sovereignty is enjoyed by everyone, but it should not infringe upon basic human rights. And I think that's where the UNSC must draft global human rights, protecting basic human rights for everyone. I think that's the resolution for Gaza-Israel conflict also, and Hamas militant group which is launching massive rockets on innocents of Israel, citizens alike, they're all suffering. So I think the sufferings can only end once we try to understand the root cause. And the root cause is all in front of us, but people are turning blind eye. See, Australia was slammed initially when Scott Morrison
as
was
Gaza
first
is
one to
progressing,
announce Biosecurity
situation
Act
with Israel and Gaza escalation.
Australia, where they
It seems
banned
like
India
quite
travel.
possible what I
Everybody was
predict.
launching attacks
This is
on
going
Scott
to go
Morrison,
worse.
PM of
And
Australia,
by
and
the
I
third
was
week of May
always endorsing Scott
2021,
Morrison, PM of
it's
Australia, who enacted
seems to be very
Biosecurity
worse.
Act and said
We
they will
want to
ban
avoid
India
at all possible cost,
traveling
a
of India.
nuclear,
And now
you can
see,
say a
all the
holocaust or a
nations are
nuclear
banning support
all-out war,
to Biosecurity
which
Act
seems
and banning
possible
India.
if
Even Sudan, can you
current
imagine a
escalation and
nation from Africa,
Hamas
Sudan is
rocket
banning
launches
India. Singapore
and
is
all
already
these
halting all
activities
flights
currently
based on
goes
this
out of hand,
India Hazard
and if it
Biosecurity Hazard
escalates to regional war, then anything is possible,
Yes, it's
folks.
become a biosecurity
This is something
hazard.
which is very scarier scenario, and world must be taking cognizance of how to avoid
any statement
whoever
because they know their malefic karma is
terrorism must
unfolding.
end. That's the
So
key
with
point
this,
here.
I want to end
The
that,
flashpoint of
hope,
nuclear
some ceasefire, if
across the
possible,
globe
can come
is
out with
everywhere,
Israel
even
and
India,
Gaza,
China,
but Hamas
war over
is a
South
group which I
Tibet
think
regions,
they are
disputed
Hamas and other
territories,
rocket launchers.
even China,
This is
India,
this is not
Pakistan
going
war
to
over
make the peace
Kashmir,
happen.
disputed
So I
territories.
guess with the next update, I'm going
Okay,
to
so we
release
know that
more
India
information.
COVID-19
But I
disaster
see
is out of control,
in time to come,
with fatalities increasing,
2 weeks, 3
and
weeks
India
down the
malafic
line,
karma,
there's going to be a big
unfolding
problem
every
with
day.
all these issues which I've
Basically,
discussed.
sexual
Also,
predators
India
population
GDP,
is exploding in
I want
India,
to tell as the
and
world
all
GDP
these given events India, Mother Nature wrath is ramping, ravaging India as well. So all these you can find on search of Google, or you can do a YouTube search with sjsrana. I've updated all these contents for you folks so you can understand what's global scenario. You know, the problem is that India government is trying to obfuscate the truth, and there is only few people who can tell what they are up to. You know, even if you search on my Google or on my YouTube sjsrana, they will obfuscate. You know, you will not get my results. And this is a battle which I have been seeing for last 10 years, ever since I have done the philanthropy work in India. Hate crime towards truth tellers is too high in India. That's why I keep saying every 8 out of 10 India population is downright corrupt, morally, ethically bankrupt, and pathological liars. And that's the reason why they don't like hearing the truth, and they always like to propagate the falsehood, and that's the problem. You can see all these predictions which I've done way advanced, a year advance. If you do search hashtag May 2021 NPW New Pathogens War, all this, you know, has been predicted by me because I can see what's going to happen. The reason being very simple, that, you know, to every action there is equal and opposite action. The karma, it reckons back. Folks, you know, I have been implicated in false and fabricated cases, and you can see all these contents available online. And basically, you know, India government tried to pin me down from every level, even leveling, you know, fake and fabricated cases where they lost completely in Indian courts. And that's how it's happening. You know, even my passport renewal, which was denied for almost 10 months, from 2019 January till 2019 November, you know, this is what it does to subjugate, to oppress, to suppress the truth tellers. And I've been writing these articles for almost 7-8 years on worldwordpress.wordpress.com. You know, this is my site. You can see it's searchable on Google. Now, even though I've got many hits, it's a lot of views I get on my WordPress, wordpress.com, but still over here in India you can find that there is hardly anyone who is basically recommending me or basically putting a likes, because they don't want to hear the truth. It's very simple, folks, and they fear Indian government will repress them. If you search on Instagram, you can see my postings. You can also search on my Yahoo, which is sjsrana@yahoo.com. My Twitter account, which was under sjsrana or at sjsrana, was suspended by Twitter for no good reason. They could never give me a reason. Since 2019, they suspended my account, and I understand that, you know, India stooges must have pressured them, but this is how the mafia is working, you know.